Everybody, welcome back. Thank you for tuning back in. We're in Baker Street today, beautiful central London, and we are a little bit of a change today. We're doing fire alarms and emergency lighting today. Normally we only do this once a year because we do repeat services. We're actually just changing a bunch of these emergency light fittings because the batteries have all expired on them. These ones here, we've actually just changed one, these little emergency batteries, but it's easier actually just to change the whole fitting on these fittings. We're going to, let's just get set up and I'll walk you through in a second what we're going to do. Yeah, so we've got this twin flex system to service today. This is just a routine service we've got to do. Some people have got a real thing about twin flex. Some people get really salty about it, that they just don't like twin flex. And I've never understood it because they're actually really good systems if they're installed correctly. I think what happens is a lot of people, they fit them because they don't follow the cabling routes and stuff. When they fit them, they end up getting faults and stuff. Because we had one the other day, a couple of months back now, I say not a couple of days, a couple of months back. It was exactly this problem. You get a fault coming up and we disconnected. The fault cleared. If you turn the power off downstairs, the fault clears. So it's just a cabling issue. Someone's just run all the FP200 next to all the twin and earth cabling and stuff. And of course, they're so sensitive, it just picks up a fault. I don't buy into this thing that twin flex is junk. I really don't. They're very well made systems. It's just they're just not fitted correctly. This is the problem. You're booked in to do fire alarm testing. Everyone's out. They'll wake up in a minute when the alarm goes off. How are you supposed to get in? This is the problem. You just put it down as a limitation. You can't test the smoke detector's in there, we've got to test, but no one's in. They send an email out telling everybody they've got to be in. No one's in. So we'll just test what we can. So Mark's gone upstairs with a bit of smoke spray. I'm putting this in, I'm doing an audible test rather than a silent test. Silent tests are good if there's lots of people in and you don't want to disturb people, but on the basis that this building, there's one tenant in the very top flat. Everybody else is out, so Mark should be spraying a bit of smoke into the chamber now, and that should go off, hopefully. Spot on. That's it, and then it'll just automatically reset, and but it's great because you can just do an entire hallway of 10, 12 fittings, and it'll just keep resetting. That's all it is, just a little squiz like that, and doesn't need to be any more than that. If you watch now, I'm demonstrating and it won't go off now. Come on, you fucking pig dog, there we go. See, just need a little persuasion, that was all. These Mega Man lamps, you know the brand Mega Man? Every time, these fittings in here, for some reason, they're a special size. They're these long, I think these fittings, you remember in the day when they bought out CFL lamps? They bought CFLs out, but then they bought LEDs in, and there was a crossover where some canisters didn't fit the normal GU10s because they're 50mm. These are LED, but it's a 75mm LED. But the lifespan on them is just horrendous. All right, boys and girls, we're just about done now. I've actually got to do a return visit because I've run out of the emergency lights. These little the circular ones which drop in the ceiling, so I've got to come back to get those. But we're heading off to Camden now. It's quite a nice little place, actually. It's an empty storefront. We've just got to make the electric safe there because the owner's gone bust. So give me 5 minutes, we'll head over there, and the next bit you see will be us inside that store. All right, as you can see, lockdown's working terrifically here in Camden. It's a hive of activity here. It was some sort of, I don't know, it's like a juice and bagel, swanky places, but yeah, retail and hospitality's gone now, so I think they went bust. I think it was a little chain and they went bust, so basically we've just got to make it safe. The banker, the official receiver, came in, and my understanding is they just basically, if it wasn't bolted down, they took it with them. So they didn't take too much care of the cabling that was here. So we've just got to go through and just make it safe. I'm guessing that was an overhead heater or something. So this place here, this is the upstairs of this building. Because these were like old-fashioned townhouses, there's an upstairs. You think how expensive property is in London, right? And you've got this huge apartment up here and it's empty. It doesn't get used. Because back in the days when they had these townhouses, you had the shopkeeper and they used to live upstairs, but of course that day and age is all gone. So, and it's the same, Costa Coffee next door, exactly the same. You've got a huge apartment like this and it's just sat empty. They don't use it. And you think what prime real estate this is, right in the middle of Camden, how much money this is worth, and it just sits empty. It's just incredible. It's a bit tragic really, isn't it, when you think I'm living in a little 1.5 bedroom flat, and it's like 1,600 quid a month, and this huge space here just sits empty, you know? But there's no access. There's some sort of issue, from what I gather, with access. I don't know I don't know the ins and outs of it, but you can't have, this flat can't have its own means of entrance and exit, and because of that, there's some sort of reason. It's something to do with that, and they can't use it, or something, I believe. So yeah, this is one board. There's another board down in the basement, and I think all we're going to do, I'm just going to take these. I'll take these out the RCBOs for a minute. I'll just put Wagos on them, because what's going to happen is when the next tenant comes in, they're going to kit it out and make this building their own. So they'll have their own contractor, plasterers, electricians, and then they can deal with this bit. But my job here is just to make this bit safe. So I'll probably just disconnect the circuits which aren't being used. I'll leave the roller shutters on the front on, leave the lights on, but the rest of it I'll just disconnect. It does seem a bit of a shame. Like, when you look at this place, I was just talking to Mark, and it's like someone's put their heart and soul into this, try and get this off the ground, and it's failed. I mean, it wasn't through any fault of him. I mean, I don't know their personal position, but it does make you wonder. It's a shame, like you're coming in now and you're trying to make good, and this will sit empty now, and this is like 80, 100 grand a year in rent, and the landlord's got to swallow that now, because they're not going to get, you know, it's only retail and hospitality that are going to be using these sort of buildings, and they all want rent-free periods. That's what we were just talking about. And it's a huge burden on landlords and stuff, you know, when you think about how expensive and how much money they've got to sacrifice just to get somebody in here. I think what I'm going to do at the front of the shop there's 2 sockets. I'm just going to leave those, the right hand ones, I'm just going to leave those switched on. I think everything else, the office downstairs I'll leave switched on, but everything else I'm just going to disconnect it. So, because there's so many bare ends out there, so all I'll do, I just mark up, I'll just cut the ends off, and then we'll just mark up. Just do that, then we'll get a marker pen. Here's one I made earlier, and I'll just mark up, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was 3. And then the next electrician who comes in, at least they've got a rough understanding of what was, at least where it went in. And then, I mean, to be honest, they'll probably end up rewiring most of this to suit their own, whoever it is who takes it on. They'll rewire it most likely to suit their own needs. But this is how I'll do it, just for a minute. I'm going to make an assumption, and it's just a wild guess, right? I can't be certain on it. There was a chiller unit in this room, because this is like a walk-in fridge. I'm going to take a guess. They didn't drain down the refrigerant. I think they probably just cut it and just drained it into the atmosphere, which I think is probably the worst thing you can do. But judging by the way it's been disconnected, I don't think an AC engineer did that. I think they just got a pair of cutters and just did that and just drained all the refrigerant into the atmosphere. There is a thing, you're not supposed to do it. There is a procedure. You're supposed to actually drain it off into a canister. But yeah, I think they just went like that. For anybody wondering why we're not re-energizing everything that's here, like reinstating all of this stuff, it's just purely because there are 2 reasons. A, because it doesn't make sense really you could spend 2 days here, and that's roughly probably what it would take, because there's so much stuff here. You burn like 2 days in labour trying to work out what's what, reinstating everything. And the problem is, it's just not really necessary, because the incoming tenant is probably going to change. They'll change all of this. So it doesn't make sense for me to come in and reinstate what's here for someone to then come in and rip it all out. It just doesn't make sense. So we just disconnect it from the fuse board, make it safe, and then the incoming tenant, it's just up to them what they want to do. And it's very seldom incoming tenants don't change anything. It's really seldom, and they're going to have to here, because this place, it clearly needs a lot of work to change it to whatever they want to do. So that's the reason we just disconnect rather than reinstating. All right, that's another job done. Thank you very much for watching. Not a lot to see in there, but this is a lot of what we do at the moment, just disconnecting stuff. Shops like this are 10 a penny now. If you Google them, you can pick up shops like this for peanuts now. There's just so much. Industrial units, not so much. They're in quite high demand, but shops like this, they're 10 a penny now. But Anyway, that's all we've got time for, and we will see you in a week's time.